Welcome to Ole Walls' house. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man. It's Ole Walls. I'm back with you. I'm back in the studio, back at home, recording here after some weeks on the road. Glad to be back. Glad to be bringing you episode 163 of Ole Walls' house coming your way. Got a fun show coming. We got a couple of guests, first-time guest. We have the brothers Davenport, Kevin, producer Kevy, and older brother Tim. We're going to just talk some Marvel movies. I was just I don't know. I watched Deadpool and Wolverine last week or so and wanted to talk Marvel movies. We brought them on to do that. So before we get in that, little housekeeping. You guys know the deal. If you could, please rate, review, comment, subscribe, and share. Let everybody know Ole Walls' house is the place to be. I just had some pudding. Do I have pudding on my, I have pudding on my nose. I didn't notice I had pudding on my nose. It was delicious pudding. A little Oreos crumbled. Gosh, now I'm all sidetracked. Yeah, I mean, you know the deal. Let everyone know Ole Walls' house. That's coming up. We're going to talk some golf too, some other sports, passing thoughts. So without any further ado, let's dive in. Genesis Invitational, your winner, Ludwig Auberge. I think I said it correctly. Ludwig Auberge. After a rough opening round, 74, weather was nasty on Thursday. Ludwig comes storming back, 66, 70, 66 on Sunday. Birdies 4 of the last 6. Birdies 13, 14, 15, and 18. He kind of got lost and kind of, if you're watching, CBS lost him a little bit, and it was kind of understandable. He came out early and made a couple of birdies, and that would have got him to like 8. 8 goes back to 6, makes 6 more birdies coming in, gets to 12. Yeah. So, I mean, he gets up to 8, and he's in the pack of people. I mean, I took some notes here during play. Here comes, and this is just stream of consciousness as it's happening. Here comes Scott, 4 under through 8, -7 total. Mav McNeely birdies 2 through 6 to get to 8 and tie the lead. Cantlay gets it to 7 early through 5. McCarthy makes it 3 at the top through his 5th hole. Then Cantlay quickly makes it 4 tied at the top through his 6th. I think they were all at 8 at this point. Only to be answered by Patrick Rogers takes the lead back for himself with a birdie at 5. That pushed him up to 9. Denny McCarthy eagles 6 to take the solo lead. So Denny McCarthy, when he eagled 6, what did he get to? He ended up shooting 1 under today, and that got him to 8. So he started today at 7. He got to 10, then immediately bogeyed the 7th. Then 2 more bogeys coming in, birdies 18 to shoot 1 under. So, I mean, he gets it up to 10. Then Mav McNeely is 8 under through 11 holes. Through 11 holes, he only had 13 putts and was leading by 2. Finishes with a 64. 64, makes 1 lone bogey after adding another birdie at 13. I think he might have, did he lead by 2 or 3 at that point? Got up to 12. It might have been 3 at that point. Makes a bogey on 14, pars in, and Ludwig chases him down. I mean, there was a point in the day where it looked like it was done. Like he had done it. And just, Ludwig just kept coming. Again, I think Ludwig got lost a little bit when he made those back-to-back bogeys on 4 and 5, but then, cleans it up on 7 and 9. And then he said 4 of the last 6 coming home, including a fantastic 2-putt on 18. Let's see what we can get the play-by-play on that and see what it was. Shot 3, 73 feet, 11 inches to left green. Well, sorry. He was 68 feet, 2 inches to the hole. He hit his putt. He hit it by a little bit, 73 feet. Had 6 feet, 9 inches. Nice. coming home and buried that. That putt never left the center. That was beautiful. Ludwig with just a really good win. And there had been some questions about Ludwig. Can he close? He kind of no-showed on the weekend. Guy's only 25, so like those were probably premature. But like with a guy with his talent level, you're gonna get that. That's just something you're gonna deal with when you're as talented as he is. And his wins to this point weren't anything crazy. He won the RSM in November of 2023. Didn't win it all last year. Again, this is a guy who's only played, when he played the Ryder Cup, had not even played a major. Took second in the Masters, T12 at the U.S. Open, which I think was the day he kind of no-showed, Saturday or Sunday. Didn't make the cut at the PGA or the Open Championship. But, an eighth at the Players, like the guy has flashed. The guy has flashed some pretty impressive talent. So Ludwig gets his signature PGA Tour win. All eyes for him are going to turn to the majors now. Like I said, it's been flashes of brilliance and flashes of what the hell was that? I think his putter can be a little shaky for him. It obviously wasn't too bad this weekend. But I think from inside 10 feet, I think there are some worries occasionally with his putter. He drives it so well. I mean, I say that and I pull up his fourth hole. He drove it out into the shit. But no, he does. He drives it so well, usually. And, this guy's, it feels like the ceiling is the roof, if you know what I mean. No, it feels like his top, it feels like the ceiling is very high for him. And that if he brings up that floor a little bit, which I think is already pretty high, this guy could be very impressive. I mean, 2 PGA Tour wins already. Again, I know the RSM isn't anything to, write home about, but I am worried, significantly worried about the fall in Bethpage. Something that was supposed to be a romp in one way. That was the home team U.S. at Bethpage. Big ballpark. We'll put the right setup in. Home crowd. We're going to whoop the Europeans' ass. I'm a little less optimistic, and I'm almost leaning towards this could be a romp in the other direction. The Europeans are looking good. Rory wins just a couple weeks ago. Oh, caramba, this could get bad. And Ludwig, I texted friend of the program, Troy Gordon. Why did I text him? I got to find what I sent to him. We were going to get crushed in the Ryder Cup. And his response was, man, we said 2 years ago that Ludwig was going to be a major problem. Yeah, looking like it. Elsewhere on this leaderboard, again, Mav McNeely, what a day. I mean, again, another guy who struggled on Thursday in that shit. 75, 70 on Friday, 68 on Saturday, 64 today. It's crazy. He shot 64 and, had the outright lead. Didn't finish that much earlier than everybody else. He only moved up 6 spots shooting the round of the tournament. I mean, these guys were going nuts. Patrick Rogers, he was going nuts early too. Birdie, bogey, birdies 5, birdies 9, makes bogeys down 11 and 12. He had like the outsidest of all outside shots coming down the stretch. He had a birdie putt on 17 and then could have, hypothetically made eagle. Tony Finau, again, bad Thursday, 76 Thursday, 69, 67, 68. Almost exact same thing from Tommy Fleetwood, 75, 68, 69, 68. Those guys come down T5. Denny McCarthy T5. He actually gets the only guy who kind of goes reverse of that. He gets a little worse every day. 68 in the shit Thursday, 70, 71, 71. Justin Thomas, again, another good showing from him. He seems to be playing some better golf. Daniel Berger, who I don't think we saw any of, shoots a final round 67. He overcomes an opening round 75. That's a 12th place finish for him. That's good for him and getting his full status back. Justin Thomas played with Mav McNeely. And where is this tweet? He said, just went back through the day. after thinking about that round by Mav that I got to witness firsthand. He said, if we would have played a match, I would have won one and been one up through one, then lost the next 10 consecutive holes to lose 9 and 8. I mean, he shot 69 and he would have lost 10 and 8. He birdied the first hole, parred 2 through 6, bogey 7, pars 8, 9, and 10. So then if you compare that against Mav McNeely, who pars the first hole, then birdies 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pars 7, pars 8, birdies 9, birdies 10, birdies 11. So it might not have been 10 and 8, or it would have been 9 and 8. Is that what he's saying? So it would have been after the 10th hole. 1, 2. I don't know that the math lines up, but he would have gotten his ass kicked, and he shot 69. So, yeah. A couple of the people who got cut, who missed the cut, Seb Straka, who'd been playing pretty well, goes 78-76. Kind of surprising there. Jordan Spieth, whoever we kind of thought was back going, he shoots 76 Friday, but didn't really ever match anything as everybody else kind of started to make up ground. Or 76 Thursday. He doesn't do make up ground with everybody else. He shoots 74 on Friday. Victor Hovland, who just seems lost out in space, 73-76. I mean, we're talking about Ryder Cup. I mean, he was the best player in the world at the Ryder Cup 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago at this point. And he's just in the wilderness. Speaking of a guy who's in the wilderness, Max Homa, 76-75. He's lost, man. He can't hit the driver. Just this week, he lost 2.8 shots off the tee, lost 3 shots approach to the green, actually gained some shots around the green. I would have to imagine that's kind of what happens when you're losing all that. But man, this guy's he's going through some stuff. I mean, let's see his season stats. See what we can get. Strokes gained. I just want to see what they are. 32nd in around the green. His approach to the green, he's losing 1.26 shots. That's 177th. That was his bread and butter. Driving it, he's 92nd. He's gaining 0.015 shots. His strokes gained total is minus 1.131. So 157th. That's bad for a guy who is, maybe not a top 10 player in the world, but like top 15 worst case scenario. Yeah, just going through it. He's, changed equipment. He's with Cobra now. I don't know if that's a full bag thing or not, but he's in a bad way. And he's 34. He's not a super young guy anymore. I mean, still plenty of life left in his golfing career, but things can get weird sometimes, and it's tough to turn him around. And just trying to think if there's anybody else I need to talk about here. Pat Cantlay kind of again has it going. He birdied 4 in a row at one point, makes a bogey, birdies 9. Nice 18th hole, rinse wash one. Michael Kim, fresh off a pretty nice finish last week, finishes top 15. Decky top 15. Colin Morikawa slid up the leaderboard, shoots a final round 67, 5 under par after not being under par at all the previous 3 rounds. Little Brian Harmon, little B. Rory, I think, had his worst statistical putting week in like 10 years or something like that. So, I mean, that was going well. So yeah. I think I'm pretty good. I think I've covered the golf. I don't even know where we are next week. PGA Tour. Mexico Championship at Vidante Vallarta. And then it's Cognizant. Then we head over to the Florida Swing. Puerto Rico after that. Then Arnold Palmer. Then the Players. So the Players in about a month. Arnold Palmer is an elevated event. So we've got Arnold Palmer, Players. Valspar's not bad. Then we're sneaking up on major season. So alrighty, let's keep moving. All right, we're back. Kevy's back, and we got Tim. Tim's here with us too. I think we're going to talk some Marvel movies. God knows what else we'll talk about. But I did want to just open the floor to you, Kevin. Your Eagles, Super Bowl champs. I'm just going to give you the floor and let you run with it for a couple minutes here.
I don't need a couple minutes. I don't want to gloat. I just want to I just want to scream like every Eagles player did over the mic to like a million people. They were they tried to mute it like in the bars and everything, but even the newscast in Philadelphia couldn't miss when somebody would come up and say, "I just got one thing to say. It's go fucking Birds!" It was fantastic. It was like, yeah. And if you ever have the chance to go to your team's parade, it is worth the trip. It was pretty great. Highly recommend.
You were there, right?
I went to the parade. Didn't go to the game or like the night that they won where everybody climbs the poles. I was not there for the night of destruction, but I was there for the celebration, which has like heavy marathon vibes. Everybody is super wholesome, like handing stuff to kids. Players are throwing beers at you while throwing beers at the players. Howie Roseman took a beamer off the forehead.
Oh yeah, he took one off the face, right?
Yeah, you should look at the picture. It's a beer can shaped hole in
I
his
like it. That's wholesome for Philly.
Yeah, like that. Nobody got seriously injured, but yeah, it was a blast. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah, there it is. Oh yeah, that's let me put that on the screen. Oh no, what'd I do? I did something. Kevin's huge on my screen now.
Oh shit.
Yeah, just wore it, obviously, right there. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's tough to gloat. It was a dominant game. It was a lot of fun. I'm fully greened up. I got all the stuff. Go Birds.
Howie Roseman, best GM in the league.
Yeah, ridiculous. And like, it doesn't seem like we're gonna suck anytime soon.
No, it's as a Packer fan, it's like hard to look at the landscape right now and be like, it's really set up well for us. Like there's the Eagles look good and young, and there's other good teams, and I'm not too optimistic, unfortunately. So
yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead.
The parade was so much fun. It was a blast. Hug Nolan Smith. Got super. It was just. It's a blast.
Maybe someday I'll be able to attend one of those things. My teams don't look too good at the moment, unfortunately. Yeah. So I called you guys in. I don't know what made me think of this. Well, actually, I kind of do. I watched Deadpool and Wolverine the other day, and I got thinking about just like Marvel movies. Football season's over, so a little more time opened up on the pod, and I was like, I would love to kind of dive back in and just kind of like talk about Marvel movies. And then I realized I've kind of fallen way behind, like post Endgame, outside of like Spider-Man and like Deadpool and Wolverine. So like, I'm gonna say kind of mostly focused on like what they call the Infinity War saga, like so basically up to Endgame, and just kind of talk about them. I mean, the MCU is probably, if not the most like ambitious and biggest like movie making thing ever done. Kevin, if you feel like I'm getting out of line there, maybe stop me. But like, it's a wild concept that they're like, we're going to make 25 movies that are all going to tie back into one storyline eventually.
And multiple are going to gross over $1 billion. Pretty.
Yeah. With multiple $100 million, budgets for every one pretty much. Like, it's just a wild concept. And then it all started with Iron Man, which was, I mean, I think, Tim, you're great for this because I think you were a pretty big comic book reader of like most of the Marvel stuff. Like Iron Man wasn't like the character in the Marvel comic books, right?
Not really. No. They started with that because that's the one they had the rights to still.
Yeah, because they'd lost all the rights across the years, like Fox and 20th Century and
Sony.
I think, yeah.
Universal.
I actually, somewhere I have a copy. I have a copy of the 1990. No, go ahead, Kevin. I think it's is it Roger Corman?
Oh, the Fantastic Four?
Yeah, the Fantastic Four, the VHS version. It's
so
unwatchable, but also parts of it are pretty fun. I cut a trailer for it for the Chad Cinemas that is summarizes all the best parts of it. But
there was a 1994 Fantastic Four movie.
In order to maintain the rights to the movie, they had to produce something.
Anything.
Yeah. And they made a feature film version of the Fantastic Four. It's rough. It's lower than B movie quality, but it exists. It's a whole movie.
Huh. Never knew about that. I'm definitely gonna have to check it out.
You don't have to check it out. It is fully a skip.
I want to now. It seems so bad that I have to see it.
Yeah,
it's like Star Wars Christmas special bad.
Nice. Nice. Perfect. So what I kind of wanted to start with here is not necessarily like a top 5 or like a best, but like if you could pick out, and you can do any of them. I'm just, like I said, my knowledge once we get into like the, you know, the Marvels and the Eternals and the Legends of the Ten Rings, like I'm kind of lost once we hit there. But like if that's one of yours, go for it. What's like one of your favorite, or maybe favorite or most important movie to the Marvel cinematic universe that you thought, and like one that just really, like, if you're like time and time again, like I will rewatch that movie every time I see it. If I have the chance, if I'm traveling, if I'm on a plane, like I'll cue that movie up every time I see it.
Tough to grid. I think I tried to do like a top 5, and I think there are 4 that are like solidly in the top 4, and then the 5th is kind of like wherever floating. But it's like, on what criteria are we grading it? Like how does I think of them as like, yeah, how rewatchable is it? But it's also like how does it stand alone as a movie and not as a part of the greater universe? I think plays a role in that, because like I don't know, but some of them, like, well, my top 4 are probably Iron Man, Guardians, the second Cap movie, and Thor 3 Ragnarok.
Yep.
And then number 5 is like completely up in the air. I would put basically any one of the Avengers from the first saga in there. And like, I don't know. The 5th one is tough. Yeah.
I believe Kevin didn't tell you anything about like thought process on this, so I think you're kind of flying blind here.
I'm coming in empty, and that's great. First, it's really good to see you again, Jordan. It's been a long time.
It has.
Thanks for having me in. The Avengers is great. I'll watch that anytime. The very first one. It brings everything together, and from the very start to the end, it just clicks the whole way. It's never slow. I think Guardians 2 is underrated every time. Guardians 1 is really fun. It has some plot problems, and Guardians 2 solves all of them. And it's really original. It's really weird. It doesn't have much of a plot, and I'm okay with that. I kind of enjoy that it's, hey, we're going to go here. Nope, that's kind of boring. We're just going to go over here instead, and it's just fun. Ragnarok it's just entertaining. It's a comedy. They spent $200 million to make a straight comedy, and it works. As far as another 2, I really like Civil War. It's just all fan service.
Yeah.
But it's done with, you really care about why both sides are upset with each other, and they pull it off. They did it better than, I argue they do it better than the comic book did. There's a comic book Civil War, and it's also Cap against Iron Man, but they have very different motives. And in that one is clearly right and one is clearly wrong. In the movie, you understand both of them. And as far as the 5th, I think Black Panther as a standalone movie is fantastic. It's really hard to top that. I like Iron Man a lot, but it's the first movie. It's got some, it needs some polishing still. Black Panther it's perfect all the way through. And you don't need to see anything before it or after it. It just stands by itself.
I've never been highest on Black Panther, and I think that's probably a good point as to maybe why I never was, that it almost is like its own thing. And that like I should go rewatch it and like with that mindset to like just separate it from the rest of the MCU and just be like, just watch it as its own movie. Because I think I always kind of watched it like and got like was working myself up like, how do we tie this in? Like what's the link? And I think now that I'm thinking about it, I need to go back and watch it again and just watch and be like, just watch it as its movie and like disregard everything else.
If you're looking at it as part of a link in a chain, it doesn't really support everything else. I don't feel like it supports everything else the way that Civil War did, or the way that even Ant-Man does. Ant-Man has a lot of little tie-ins. They invent a whole world for... They invented so much of a world for Black Panther that they reuse most of it in Infinity War. They go back to Wakanda and they actually use the set locations to reshoot a whole bunch of scenes and a whole bunch of the war there because it's such a unique place. They designed something so special that we're going to reuse half of it for this giant $400 million movie we're going to make. That's something unique that they don't really do with any of the other movies. That's why I think it's a really good one, and that's why it's one of my favorites.
I'm also super biased because, like, and Coogler is the man. He's a former college football player who, like, went to USC putting up, like, a pretty solid career. He went to Sacramento State. I don't know. I used to know this. And then he did Fruitvale Station with Michael B. Jordan from Friday Night Lights, and that's how I first found out about him. And I was like, all right, sick movie. Then Creed. So Philly through Philly.
St. Mary's College of California. I was trying to find that, and then Sacramento State.
Yeah, St. Mary's closed while he was there. Maybe
he was a stud. 112 receptions for 1,213 yards and 16 E's.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler is like, he is the man. He's great. I
didn't know that about him.
Yeah, and then he like took a writing class while he was at one of those colleges and was like, "Oh, this is fun. I think I might enjoy this after I'm done being great at football. I might want to make some movies." And he did that very successfully.
Yeah, you could say.
Yeah, Black Panther's great. I think Ant-Man would be my number 5 if Edgar Wright had stayed with the project.
Ant-Man would make my list.
Yeah,
what's your list?
I have a theory that Edgar Wright followed the comic arc where Ant-Man beat his wife to death, and Disney was like, "Not going to do that. You can't do that." And Edgar Wright was like, "Okay, but that's like central." And if you watch the movie with that in mind,
yeah, you see it coming.
Yeah, and then it takes a hard turn all of a sudden, and it's just like, oh, everything's all right, everything's happy. And the guy that got to replace him, Peyton Reed, is like, he is a decent director. He came from like the comedy world.
Excellent.
Yeah, Bring It On. I think he's like the guy who did, and then he did some TV too. He was like, I can't remember. I scribbled down some notes.
You can probably find it.
Oh, yeah, he did the Weird Al show. I was like, this guy has roots in my brain, and I don't know why. Looked into it, directed some episodes of the Weird Al show. And he did the best episode of The Mandalorian, the one where
he directed 13 episodes of the Back to Future TV show, which I didn't know was a thing.
Oh, the cartoon?
Yep.
Yeah, that predates.
Didn't know that was a thing.
That sounds like some late 80s, early 90s content.
1991. He did 3 episodes of New Girl, favorite show of mine.
Oh,
interesting. Yeah, so mine, because Tim was just asking me. Mine, I think you have to go. I've really got a soft spot for Iron Man. I think the kicking it off, the whole thing off, is definitely there. Captain America: Winter Soldier. I really like that movie. I like the kind of like 70s like political thriller like feel to it. Ant-Man. I do like the new Spider-Man movies as well. I think Spider-Man Homecoming's really good. So there's 3. I mean, Endgame, I think, too, like just the absolute culmination of everything, I think is perfect. And I was stuck between Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like you were saying, Tim, like the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy is just so different, and 2 is just ridiculous. Like that his father is a planet, and it's just awesomely dumb, but like it kind of goes. So I think that's it. I think it's Thor, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Ant-Man, Guardians 2, and Endgame. And
You're putting Thor 1 in your top 5?
did I say Thor?
I think you meant Iron Man.
Iron Man. No, I'm not putting Thor in my top 5. I saw Thor 2 in the movie theater, and that movie's pretty bad.
I worked with the guy who directed that for like 6 months. He was the guy who directed the Sopranos movie. He's cool. Much better at directing the Sopranos than he is at directing Thor. That happens.
I don't even know like how to explain Thor 2. Like there's just like none of like the funniness of like Chris Hemsworth as Thor, like trying to figure out like Earth. It's just all on Asgard, isn't it?
And it lacks a villain.
Like 95%, really. Yeah. Right at the end, it comes to Earth.
And the villain's motivation is simply that he's bad.
Yeah.
It's not a very...
It's like I want to conquer the world bad. And just, I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me. Okay, so now that
I might be wrong. Tim, do you remember if there's... I don't remember what the villain was trying to accomplish in Thor 2. And I feel like that's a problem.
No.
I was gonna say I think the drawn out explains like the lack of like
I know it's Malekith. I know he's a dark elf. I can tell you what he does in the comics, but in the movie it's very different, and no. I think it's mostly a way to work in one of the best stones.
Yeah. And it feels very
I was going to say, is that the one problem? Is that some of these movies, they just had to kind of work some things in? Like, they're like, oh, how do we, like, maneuver in a stone? Or, like, we got to kind of toss a character a movie and, like, maybe we shouldn't have?
I think that was a problem on... Go ahead, Kev.
I come at it from, like, the production standpoint. As I was Googling some of these guys, like, the guy that they got to do Cap 1, Joe Johnston, is the guy who did, like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Jumanji. And he
did The Rocketeer.
And The Rocketeer, yeah. He's
Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah, and Jurassic Park 3. So he's got good ones, and then he's got... they learned, like, who works and who doesn't work in the first saga. I think they have a similar problem in the second saga that they're in right now that they are figuring out. They also brought the Russos back, which may or may not work. I think it'll work. They're pretty great. They do good things. But yeah, I wonder how much that played into some of the missteps that were made.
Yeah, because if you look at the first saga, I mean, by the time they hit basically from like the second, I mean, basically like the second Avengers movie on. So you go Avengers Age of Ultron, but then you go Ant-Man, Civil War, Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man, Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, whatever, Captain Marvel, whatever, Endgame, Spider-Man, Far From Home. Like they kind of nail it, like predominantly in that back end.
I'm sorry.
Like there's a couple. What?
The video was blipping out a little bit.
Oh, my bad. Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying they really kind of start to nail it in the back end after. There's a couple of weird ones, like early, like even like Iron Man 2, like Thor, like even feels a little out of place, like the original, like the Kenneth Branagh one. Thor 2, like Iron Man 3 is a little interesting. Like there's definitely some good moments, but I know like they took a big diversion from the comics there with the Mandalorian, right?
And that was Shane Black. Shane Black did 3, and he does movies like did he do Lethal Weapon?
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon 4?
He maybe wrote one of the... He's an action guy. He's a buddy action guy. He later does some... he did the one with... Ryan
he wrote
Gosling.
Lethal Weapon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I just think they picked the wrong established directors. And every time they roll the dice and they pick somebody weird, it usually goes pretty well. Doctor Strange was good, and that dude has done nothing but like B horror movies. His first movie was Hellraiser 5. Straight to DVD. Scott Derrickson, I think. Yeah, Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister, Day the Earth Stood Still with Keanu. And they pick him to do Doctor Strange, and it comes out great. They pick Ryan Coogler to do Panther, comes out great. The Russos had really not done a lot of features. They did like Arrested Development and Community, and then they nail it with Infinity War and Endgame and Cap 2 and Civil War.
I think Cap 2 is by far my favorite. What else have the Russos done? Like, what was their... Oh, they did You, Me, and Dupree. That's a funny movie.
Yeah, but how does that translate to doing a Marvel movie?
I don't know. You actually couldn't find like kind of two different like tones of a movie than You, Me, and Dupree and Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, or Endgame, or the ending of Infinity War and You, Me, and Dupree.
Dude, I remember watching, I saw Infinity War in the theater, and Kevin, I texted you immediately when leaving, just all caps, they killed everybody, and you started to like send me back like analysis, and I just kept sending you the same message over and over. I was like shook. I was like, they fucking killed everybody. I was shook in many ways, but yeah. Walking out of that movie was like, I don't know how they're going to bring it back. I can't do it anymore.
Also, speaking of Guardians and Guardians 2, in that conversation of 1 versus 2, we all know Pop, our 99-year-old grandfather, he's seen like 10 movies. And one of those 10 movies is Guardians 2, which he sat, I assumed he would fall asleep. He watched in entirety, barely blinking. And the moment the credits rolled, like grabbed my knee and was like, Kev, that was weird. So, Guardians 2 may elevate. It held Pop the entire time. For better or for worse, I love that review. I think it's appropriate and perfect.
Yeah.
What do we think the other 9 movies are that Pop has seen?
The Sandlot, Lilo and Stitch, all 3 Star Wars, the original 3 Star Wars.
The original Star Wars.
Yeah.
He went to your screening. Oh,
he's seen at least one scene in Dumb and Dumber. He saw the remake of The Three Stooges.
He loved that.
In the theater in Canton, yeah.
This is a wild library of movies to have seen.
Beverly Hills Cop. Love Beverly Hills Cop.
Really?
Yes. No one can believe it, but he loves it.
Yes. That is one of the most shocking things I've ever heard in my life. That Pop loves Beverly Hills Cop.
It was the TV version, so there's no swearing in it.
He's seen other movies that are on in the background, obviously, but he's like sat down and watched a movie. Yeah, we're capping. We're getting close to the end of I'm sure he saw things earlier in life, but as far as
gosh, Pop loving Beverly Hills Cop is an awesome point of this discussion that I'm never gonna forget.
Did you guys watch SNL 50?
Yeah,
I watched portions of it. I fell asleep last night, but I haven't recorded to go back and watch the rest of it.
It was 3 hours long, and they did have a song about how everybody falls asleep after update, which is exactly what I did.
That's about when I passed out, was after the update. I did enjoy Tom Hanks just appearing out of nowhere in Black Jeopardy. Like that he wasn't on the panel, he just shows up at one point.
I loved it felt less rehearsed than every other episode, and it was great. I loved how often they would cut to a live and it would be someone mouthing something to someone off screen or like giving stage direction, which it was fun. Also, all their PAs were wearing tuxes.
That was a nice touch.
The concert was pretty good too.
Oh, on
concert
Friday,
was
yeah.
a blast.
I mean, Cher is like 80, and she was out there just cranking it.
Bonnie Raitt was great, but she looked like she did not want to be there. And Nirvana was fun. That was great.
I was
Yeah,
shocked.
with Post Malone.
I could not believe how good he did.
Yeah, that was a blast.
I'm always shocked at how good of a musician and like singer like he actually can be, and then like what he chooses to just put out on his own. It's like anytime he like jumps in with somebody else, it's like, oh my god, this guy's awesome. And then like he just puts out the weirdest like poppy stuff, and it's like, dude, you're so much better than this.
Yeah, pretty hysterical. All right, wait, we lost
So-
the thread. Marvel.
I don't know if there's supposed to be a thread. My next kind of question was, what's the thing? I've seen it. I haven't like read about it. What's the thing with Robert Downey Jr.'s coming back as like in the Avengers Doomsday, right? Like, what's the like? Is it like, because it's all multiverse stuff, right? So like, is he gonna be Tony Stark, like evil Tony Stark from another like universe? Is that like the idea?
Maybe. I don't know. Could also be a fun like misdirect, but we'll see. They did. So the thing is, one of my theories, Russos are very. They sort of depend on the misdirect. Like Endgame or Infinity War's ending was shocking in theaters, and they did a good job of keeping it that way. And one way to do something shocking is to build people's expectation and then not like meet them, but also
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. It seems like a fun. If they're announcing it, there's probably a purpose and a reason to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, man, I know I've not caught the last few movies, but I'm like, I don't see how this works, but far be it for me to try and figure that out. I'm an idiot, so. I did just watch Deadpool and Wolverine. That was a wild movie, and I'm still processing like what to think of it. Like, it was funny, and I was like, but I'm not really sure what's going on ever. Like, and then like Channing Tatum shows up as Gambit, and it's like, what the fuck is happening?
I love Gambit and I love Blade.
And Jennifer Garner is just there for some reason.
As Elektra from the old,
Yes, yeah.
They're grandfathered in the multiverse.
Yeah, I did feel like they were like, hey, we're going to give like Jennifer Garner as Elektra like a real revival here, because that movie was terrible. And we're like, we're going to give you a second crack at this to make a better lasting impression.
And I do wish that they would just do another Wesley Snipes Blade.
Aren't they doing one with Mahershala Ali?
Yes,
They fired
and
the
I wish
director
they would
again.
just do it with Wesley Snipes. Yeah, it's stalled.
It might
Hasn't
happen.
that stalled out like 4 or 5 times?
I don't know how many. It's more than twice.
Yeah.
What are the good ones like coming up that like I should be looking forward to? Because like I said, I'm like a lot of like the ones that have come out. You know, Thunderbolts not speaking to me. The Marvels not speaking to me. Like the Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania like didn't speak to me. Like what's one coming up that like I should be excited about? Should like I be excited about Captain America, the new Captain America? I just have a hard time with the Captain Americas now that there's no Cap. Like it doesn't seem right.
Well, Sam is Cap now, but
Yeah, I know.
haven't seen it yet. I did like Falcon and Winter Soldier for the most part.
Oh yeah, I watched that. That was good.
And that's one of the confusing things about the later saga is that you also have all the TV content. So there's like 17 seasons of TV that are just floating out there as part of the greater cinematic universe, and I am not up on all of it. It's also harder to keep track of for whatever reason for my brain because there's just so much.
So I know I'm in the minority, I loved the Marvels. For me, it was great. They took 2 or 3 big chances, and of the 3 they took, 2 of them they hit out of the park. One of them, it was mediocre, but 2 of the things they did are great. But in order to really appreciate the whole story they tell, you have to watch 3 different series and then have also seen like 5 or 6 previous movies. It's like 22 to 24 hours of content you have to have watched to see this one movie. And it's a lot. It stands on its own pretty well, but it's a lot better if you've seen all these things, and that's a ridiculous amount of effort for a single movie that's supposed to be a link in a chain to something else. That's one of the areas that they're failing in right now.
I think that's where I've gotten lost is the TV shows, because I don't have Disney Plus. So it's like, it's such a like commitment for me to like go like, all right, I'm going to get Disney Plus. I'm going to bang out like 12 hours of a show. And I'm like, I got a bunch of other stuff I want to watch. And I already have the platforms for those. And, you know, there's 77 different streaming platforms now.
The video's getting blippy.
Oh, no. What is wrong with my video? Is it just you, Kevin, or is it me too?
Oh, that one was you too. Sorry.
Oh, gosh. Spectrum. Sons of bitches.
Yeah. I think we're on the same page there. It's a lot. And like, even when some of the movies aren't good, it's a lot to ask to watch an entire season of a thing that is like, okay. All right.
Yeah, and it's just, there's so much. Like, I was committed to the movies like leading up to Endgame, but it was like, hey, you get one movie every year, or you know, maybe 2 years, and you just got to like devote some time to find a movie, or you know, I mean, shoot, back in those days, you were still renting movies from like Redbox or like just grab it off Amazon real quick. Now it's like there's just so much involved in trying to keep up, and like, how far are they taking this? Like,
I also
is like.
I think their trajectory.
Like, how many more phases are there?
There's at least. I mean, they're going to wrap up the current phase wraps up in like 2027, I think. With there's going to be a double Russo Brothers Avengers combo. They do the Doomsday and the other Secret
War.
But yeah, I think they lost the thread with the TV shows, because I think originally I worked on Hawkeye. Hawkeye was supposed to just be like an epilogue for Hawkeye. It wasn't. It's not supposed to be essential viewing for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was supposed to be like a. And then they did WandaVision, and it was like, well, what if we made this more of a? What if we did more of it? And then it continued to a point where the Marvels depends on you watching. It doesn't depend on entirely,
it
but
doesn't
like
depend.
But it some things miss in ways that just didn't. I don't know. That was also, it suffered from a lot of, I don't know, a lot of these current phase movies feel cliched, I guess, maybe. Like they're regurgitating a similar formulaic. And Marvel's was all right, though.
I was going to ask, what formula was that one regurgitating?
I see. Also, the problem is I've seen the first sagas how many times now, and I've only seen a lot of these movies in the second phase once or twice in some cases. But they have not stuck or hit the same way because it's so much of a commitment, I feel like.
I feel like, and you started to like feel this towards the end of like the first phases. Is that you start with Iron Man, and it's like, hey, Tony Stark gets captured. He's in Afghanistan. He comes back. It's Jeff Bridges' character is the bad guy. He's trying to, you know, make sure they keep selling weapons. Like the plot is very, like, I mean, as grounded as like a comic book plot can be.
Mm-hmm.
And like as it progresses, like the stakes just have to keep getting upped and upped and up, and like, and now we're in multiverse, and like. There's 3 Spider-Mans and all the villains have come back together to make it like tough, or like just they're going to space, they're going to other planets, like the Guardians of the Galaxy, and like even the Guardians of the Galaxy, when you start, it's like their plot is grounded for their world and their universe, but like as you start mixing everything, it's like it just gets to be crazy, and it's like you have to keep upping the ante so much that like it's harder and harder to buy into. I almost think like just you regurgitate back to Iron Man. It's like, hey, it's him. He doesn't want to sell weapons anymore. The bad guy leading his company does. Like, it's very digestible. It's like, hey, it's right out in front of you. And then even when you get to Thanos, it's like, yeah, it's otherworldly, but it's like, hey, he just wants to delete half the population. And like, it feels like as they keep going, it's like the things just get weirder and weirder, and it's like almost like they have to. And like, I know that's kind of like the theme in the comic books too, is that like as you get through whatever you can in your creative process, like you just keep kind of upping the ante, and it almost gets to the point where it's just like so weird that like it's out there so far that it just gets harder and harder for me to buy into. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, less and less grounding. Mm-hmm. You can't really. I mean, and that's what makes that's part of what makes a great movie is that you can like identify and emotionally feel what's happening to the characters. But when the things that are happening to them are so far gone, like I feel like even before they ended up changing course on the Kang course, Kang was not hitting as a villain. It was like, oh, well, he can't be killed. All right. I don't have the comic book familiarity, so I don't know Kang's greater story, but Kang, as we got him in the movies, has already been deleted because of the whole Jonathan Majors thing, but like,
yeah,
it was not a thing that I was feeling. Like,
I was behind
Thanos'
on
whole thing.
Go ahead, Thanos.
Thanos' whole thing of being inevitable is like what makes him a fun villain, I feel like. And also like they captured, without having him be like in love with death as he is in the comics, they did have him be in love with death, which is less, I don't know, less hokey, I guess.
That was a really good cut from the comics. They jettisoned that little piece of, this is an important part of the character, but really it's kind of silly. What if we just had him have an understandable goal instead of just, I'm in love with the actual personification of death, which doesn't really translate.
We didn't get Thanos. Explain this. Did get spinning blade Thanos.
Explain to me Thanos is in love with death.
So in the comics for a bit, maybe it keeps coming back and forth. In Marvel, death can take any form, and to Thanos, she appears to be a woman. Like, instead of a Grim Reaper with a large scythe above you, she's a woman. Thanos falls in love with her. In order to court her, he's going to kill off the universe so that it's sort of a, look what I've brought you. Like a cat will bring its master a mouse, and look what I've done for you. He's going to bring the death of millions or billions to show her his love for her.
I would say that was probably a good pivot.
Yes.
In the 70s, and Stan Lee said, we need another horny old space dog. He's gonna fuck death.
Oh, that's a good. What's the best Stan Lee cameo?
Oh, there's so many good ones. They're all great.
I'm a big fan of the Tony Stank cameo when he's delivering for FedEx. I don't know why that one really hits me, but I just see him there reading Tony Stank and it kills me every time.
I like the Guardians 2 one where he's driving the car. I like the Captain Marvel where he's on the bus reading Mallrats. Because that's cool. That's great.
That hit my heart.
Spider-Man 1 and 2, also great Stan Lee's, where he pulls the lady out of the way of the falling rock. Yeah, those are not MCU, but
yeah,
that's still cameo.
Yeah, and it's so heartwarming.
The one where he's talking to the Watchers, and they're all leaving him because he's been talking for too long.
Yeah. Cool. They filmed a bunch, and I guess there are still some that have not been used, which is fun.
Oh, like a bunch of other like Stan Lee cameos have been filmed and that just never made it to the movies?
When they did the Guardians ones for Guardians 2, James Gunn apparently directed like a bunch of alternates on blue screens just with Stan Lee doing Stan Lee things. So
Nice.
There are cameos that could be used in the future, I think.
Nice. Anything else we should discuss? We've been going for a nice little clip here. Anything else we should mix into a discussion here to wrap it up?
Not a Marvel thing, but I go back to work on that John Hamm show tomorrow, and it comes out April 11th.
Nice.
And
that's on Apple, right?
Yeah, it's on Apple. It's the follow up to Severance. So after Severance's finale, Severance also awesome. If you're not watching, you should check it out. This season has been great. Ben Stiller has directed a bunch of episodes, and he's a shockingly great director. It's a blast. Every episode is.
He's improved since Cable Guy.
Yes, significantly.
Good.
This is like,
what's wrong with Cable Guy?
Go rewatch Cable Guy.
It could be good. It's just I'm asking if he's improved since then.
It's not bad. Cable Guy's not
like Fruitvale Station is good, but I'd argue Creed might be a little better.
What's the name of the John Hamm show? You've told me and I keep forgetting.
It just hasn't come out yet. It's called Your Friends and Neighbors.
Your Friends and Neighbors. That's right. Okay.
He plays like a hedge fund manager who robs his neighbors to keep his lifestyle afloat. No spoilers.
So he's Bernie Madoff.
Similar. You should check it out.
I'm gonna. I'm like, I get like Apple Plus for like 2-3 months at a time because like there's not a ton on there, but like the stuff that's on there is really good. So like I'll just get it and like burn through like 2 or 3 shows at a time, and then like when another show I want to watch on there comes back, I like re-up and do the same thing and like, oh, I'll watch this show now on there too.
Yeah, people love Silo right now too. I keep getting recommended Silo. People are like,
I've almost started that like 3 or 4 different times.
It feels very Fallout-y, and that's why I haven't started it, but I should. It's probably good. Apple's had a good track record.
It preceded the Fallout show though, right?
Yes. We're the first show that Apple has produced in-house. So all the other stuff is like produced by a different company and then licensed by Apple to air on the network. And we are the first one that is like Apple signs our checks. It's strange.
Oh, cool. Anything else we should be watching?
Did you watch Shogun? Shogun was awesome. The Oscars are coming up. We should do an Oscars episode. Substance was my favorite movie that is up for the best pick nominees. I think The Brutalist will win, but if I had to pick one of the things that was nominated, The Substance is the one that you should watch.
Let me see if I've even seen a single Oscar nominated movie this year. Oscar noms, Best Picture. Why is this so hard to find?
Yeah, it's frustratingly hard to locate. Do I have any other Marvel stuff we touch on?
So The Brutalist, Anora, Dune. I watched the first Dune. I haven't seen the second one yet.
The first what?
Dune.
Oh, yeah, Dune 2 was great.
Or is it? Oh, yeah. Conclave. I heard it. A bunch of people were watching Conclave on the movie I was on the flight I was on just last week. I walked to the bathroom and I walked back up and 3 rows, 6 seats on each side. It was probably like literally half of the plane from the port of the plane to my part of the plane back to the bathroom and back. Literally like half of the plane was watching Conclave. I had to Google like what it was. Like I just started Googling new Priest movie and it came up because trying to figure out what everybody was watching.
I think one of the funniest things that ever happened to me on a plane, I fell asleep with TBS on. I was like watching the NBA or something, or TNT. I was watching an NBA game like live on cable. I fall asleep. There's 2 old ladies on my left. I wake up and it's the movie Sully, which is a plane crash over and over and over and over. And both these ladies on my left are staring glued to the screen, just like, oh shit. I was like, oh, my bad. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, what else? Do we have any Marvel wrap ups? I couldn't determine a fifth.
I think I got through most of my Marvel thoughts there.
I got one question then.
Oh yeah,
You said you haven't been watching many since Endgame.
correct.
What would bring you back to wanting to go see more? Like, what's been missing that you feel like, I really don't want to go see these? What would bring you back?
I think they've just gotten away from the characters I know and like have like some sort of like relationship with. So like when it was Deadpool and Wolverine, like I was into it because of like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Like I've been into the Spider-Man movies because like there's like some context there, like the older Spider-Man movies, like all the Spider-Man video games, like something that like I have an attachment to. So like even as I'm like pulled up like the future, like I'd probably be into Blade. I'll probably check out Black Panther 3. And then like an X-Men film. Like I'd be very interested to see what Marvel does with X-Men. Because I know like the little bit I've read on, they're like, it'll be different. Like, and so like there's something that like gives me like a base of knowledge that like makes me interested in it. Like when they get to, even like the Avengers Doomsday stuff or like the Thunderbolts and the Red Hulk, like I just don't have like any sort of background with them, so it makes it harder for me to like want to dive into that.
Okay.
I wonder if there's correlation between comic titles that do well on the shelves and movies that do well in the theaters. Things that are highly profitable on the shelf are better known to the public, but like how well do the Eternals comics do versus Spider-Man versus properties that we're all more familiar with in general pop culture? Like I wonder how much, if there is a direct line that can be drawn.
Don't believe there's an Eternals comic that's lasted more than 24 issues. They get canceled every time.
Well, somehow they got a movie.
Well, I get why you kind of got to do that. Like, there's only so many times you can just keep trotting out like another Spider-Man. Like, you can only do Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man so many times. Like, you kind of eventually have to move on. Like, and the actors, it's probably tough to get them without just a massive, massive bag. Just be like, just play this character for the next 40 years of your life. Like, and it's like, there's only so many times you can see it. Like, I think that's probably been almost the saving grace to Spider-Man, as weird as it sounds, is that it's just rebooted so many times. Like, there's been 3 different actors, and it's like 3 different, like totally different movies, really. So like, you have the familiarity, but then you kind of have something like new within it.
Yeah, the background for that laid with Batman. Anyway, Batman had a Batman.
Yeah.
Superman too, but Christopher Reeve is Superman.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question for you then, Wally. I'm guessing you had no background on Guardians of the Galaxy before you went in to see that.
I did not.
Because that's pretty obscure. Even for people that read comics, it was super obscure. If I didn't have a friend that loaned me some years and years and years ago, I never would have heard of them either. I didn't own any, and I only read maybe 12 issues before the movie ever came out, so it was obscure to me. You still jumped onto that, and it was good. You like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What new thing? Can you think of anything new? Like, why that? What made that something that appealed to you when the newer things that are new aren't appealing to you? Like, I'm guessing you never heard of Shang-Chi or... No. I'm trying to think of one of the other new ones that's coming out.
Shang-Chi was good. I liked Ten Rings. I thought that was a solid one. I think it's a testament to how good the director is. James Gunn is very good.
I think if you go back to like the Guardians of the Galaxy, so if I'm looking at the timeline when the movies came out, they had been making, like, they were all working so well.
Okay. So
like phase 1 was really good. Phase 2 is Iron Man 3, which I still liked. Thor was whatever. But then like Captain America Winter Soldier was the movie directly preceding it.
Okay.
And like just everything was flowing so good. I was just like, hey, if they're making another MCU movie, like I'm in. Like they've all been so good. And that maybe that's where my feeling is like it's probably almost just like a little burnout to be like, oh, I'm just going to go see another Marvel movie. And if it's not like, some of the ones, the Eternals and the Ten Rings, like just didn't speak to me. It's like, I've seen so many lately. I'm not hearing the greatest reviews of them. It's another this, it's another that. It's just kind of worn on me, I would think. But like at the time, like when Guardians popped out, like it was still new. They were really just putting out bangers. And so like I kind of jumped in, and maybe that's a thing I should take away, is that maybe I just need to give them all more of a chance and just like go get it. Cause like they typically make good movies.
I'd say if it doesn't look like it appeals to you, it probably is not going to appeal to you. Maybe give 1 out of 3 a chance, but don't.
There's also a lot of
yourself and watch movies you don't want to see.
There are bad movies in the first saga. Thor 1 and 2 are kind of not great for me. But
what's the worst Marvel movie?
Thor 2
or MCU. I don't want to expand to Marvel in general.
Eternals or Thor 2 or Ultron kind of falls flat. It's got moments, but it's not that good.
Ultron has some good parts.
It does. It's got moments. But
Ultron can be a slog to get through.
Yeah, and I just don't. Maybe it's I have too much familiarity with Whedon's like story styles at that point, and it does things that are but it's like, I don't know. I think it falls flat compared to the things around it. It's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst. It's not anywhere near Thor 2.
Yeah. I don't mean to cut us off, but I think my computer's gonna. I'm getting a notification that my computer's going to close and update in 5 minutes, and I have pushed this update off for so long that it says you are not able to delay. So it's down to 4 minutes and 15 seconds until that happens. So I'll just kind of give you guys the floor for like one last closing piece here. You're on the clock. 4 minutes remains. Kevin, if you have any last thoughts.
No, I think we touched on everything. I wish that Edgar Wright had been allowed to finish Ant-Man. It probably would have been my number one movie in the MCU because I love everything that guy has done, really. He's a pretty solid director. Hot fuzz.
Tim. 3 minutes and 30 seconds remains now.
I'm hoping they use Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four as a blueprint for their movie. It's the best Fantastic Four run in 20 years, and there's some excellent stories in it. And I really wish they'd make a Squirrel Girl movie. It's the best Marvel comic maybe in 30 years. It's fantastic. It's weird, but it's grounded in its own little way. It's also just fun and funny.
I'll say Marvel Rivals right now is having a huge success pop culturally. It is like the number one game on PS5 and all this. It's a blast, and Squirrel Girl is now in the pop. Like, now she is referenceable, so that movie is probably coming. I also love Jeff the Land Shark. Was unfamiliar with him before I played this game, and now I'm like, oh, my favorite MCU character.
I'm intrigued by the name Jeff the Land Shark, so.
He's just a little shark. He's great.
Nice. We're definitely ending on Jeff the Land Shark. That is the perfect way to go out, because that sounds like a dude. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Look forward to doing it again.
Go Birds!
Time for some passing thoughts. Just gonna kind of roll some other things into passing thoughts here. First of all, hockey. Like, let's do basketball first. Let's do UNC basketball just to get out of the way. They get crushed by Clemson. They finally found a team worse than them in Syracuse, and they actually pick up a win. So that's nice. 23 points from Ian Jackson. He kind of gets back on a roll. I don't think he had a very good game against Clemson. 3 points. I mean, I don't even know what to say there. So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm to the point where I'm going to check out the games if they're on, and I'm not doing anything. They play NC State Wednesday. That game comes on at 6. I'll probably watch that. Saturday, they play Virginia at 3. If I'm sitting around and I'm not going to do anything, sure. The only game I'm going to do appointment viewing for is the Duke game at the end of the year. Everything else is just kind of like, if I'm going to be passing by a TV, I'll throw it on, but I'm not investing time in them. Over in the hockey front, the Four Nations, the United States team has already punched their ticket to the title game. They will face off with the Canadians when we get there. That'll be a rematch from Saturday night's game. The Canadians, their national sport of hockey, they thought it'd be cool to boo us, to boo the old US of A national anthem. Tell you what, the Kachuk brothers and the rest of Team USA said, you want a little piece? About to find out. Gonna learn what a long dick looked like today. 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of game time to start that. We just went one right after the other and said, let's get this ball rolling. USA was hitting. Connor McDavid came out and scored the first goal, but then it was all USA from there. 3 more for the red, white, and blue. And we just went in there to Canada and said, you boo our national anthem, we're going to whoop your ass, bitches. Also, because I did see that the games they're playing today, that during the Canadian national anthem in Boston, they booed a little bit. And I believe the game is, the championship game is in Boston. It's not that big a deal that they booed our national anthem, man. Like, it's fun to talk shit. Like, oh, boo our fucking national anthem, find out what happens. In the long run, it's not a big deal. Like, get over it. It's sports fans. It's booing. It's talking shit. All in good fun. I mean, the Canadians, those losers probably weren't actually all in good fun. They're getting bullied around a little bit. But you know what? I don't care. Like, just, we'll beat you. Because we're the best. God, I hope we win on Thursday after I'm talking all this shit. I mean, who cares? Anyone from Canada even listen to this pod? I'll have to check the analytics, see if we get any listeners from north of the border. You know what? I appreciate you guys. Don't take it the wrong way. I just hope the USA team stomps the Canadians in the final on Thursday. But that was a fun game to watch. I don't know why I like, maybe if like I rooted for a team that didn't stink, the Flyers, I would, find similar enjoyment that I find when I watch USA hockey. Because I've always said it, like, I watch USA hockey in the Olympics or like World Cup, but I think it's mostly Olympics like every 4 years. And I come like, I should watch more hockey. And I just finally did that a couple years ago. And then I was watching him, I'm like, man, this is awesome. And then I remembered, well, I think it's just because the Flyers stink is why I don't, like watching the Flyers as much as I like watching USA. I was like, the Flyers just got good. It'd probably be better. Okay, what else do we got? Super Bowl. Record viewership numbers for both the game and the halftime show. If you ever heard some idiot on this pod saying, I don't know if it was the right concert for halftime in Kendrick Lamar, just remember that wasn't me. That was just a lookalike if someone said that. 127.7 million across all platforms for the game, breaking the previous mark of 123.7 last year. And the halftime show clicked at a high of 133.5 million people, breaks the previous record of 133.4 million viewers for Michael Jackson's halftime show performance in 1993. What was the population of the United States in 1993 that 133 people tuned in for that? 133 million people. I mean, if it was only 133 people, that's not that impressive. 260 million. Half of the country watched. That's incredible. 334 now, so 133, not a little more than a third. Still incredibly impressive and, well done, Kendrick Lamar, pulling yourself in. Nice number. Just incredible. I'm not even talking about that. Stupid transgender golfer talking shit again about, it's not my fault. Shut the fuck up. This is a good one. There have been 7 different AFC quarterbacks in the Super Bowl since 2022. In that same time period, the NFC has seen 20. Tom Brady appears twice on this list. I think he is the only double. Yeah, because Peyton's all would have been in the AFC. Flacco never came over. Roethlisberger, Joe Burrow. Yeah, so AFC, Rich Gannon, Tom Brady. Obviously, Tom Brady doing the bulk. Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, and Mahomes doing, almost all the work. Gannon, Burrow, and Flacco, I think, all have 1 each. I mean, then over in the NFC, you get some names. Brad Johnson, Jake Delhomme, Donovan McNabb, Matt Hasselbeck, Rex Grossman, Eli, Kurt Warner, Drew Brees, Rodgers, Kaepernick, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Big Dick Nick Foles, Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brady, Stafford, Hurts, Purdy. I mean, there is a stretch in those early 2000s. And hey, you're going to look at some of these other guys and be like, what's this? Brad Johnson, Jake Delhomme, Matt Hasselbeck, Rex Grossman, and Kurt Warner late in his career. I mean, that said, like, you look at some of the dudes here of late. I mean, Nick Foles, Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy. Ooh, oofta. Those can be some names. Maybe it's no wonder why the AFC just when those dudes over in the AFC are just racking them up. They're playing bums. Oh gosh. Let's see what else I had to get through here. So I've got some flight things. Before we get that, I was still kind of close to the Super Bowl thing. I saw a meme that said the same dudes who couldn't understand Kendrick Lamar during the halftime show say they could understand Pearl Jam, and then he played the one Pearl Jam. I just laughed to myself. I was like, I can't fucking understand either of them. I mean, I think when people, I don't know. I was just gonna say, I think people are like, yeah, I can't understand. You can. Like, yes, you can. If someone joked about not being, you can actually fucking understand it. You could, I don't know. You almost can't understand that fucking Pearl Jam song. That's a fucking hard one. Okay, flying. So I'm flying last week, and uneventful flights on the way down. So on the way back home, coming out of Florida, across like the upper panhandle, northern part of Florida, kind of working into Georgia, there's like this storm system blowing through. So we're flying right through it within like, I don't know, 30, 40 hour at most. It's like a 2.5 hour flight. We get up, we take off. We're like not even at cruising altitude yet. Captain comes over the loudspeaker. He's like, hey, we're going to be running into some bumpy weather. The fasten seatbelt signs are going to be on here in about 20 to 30 minutes. If you need to go to the bathroom, I suggest you go do it now because we're going to be in those fasten seatbelt signs for a little while. Do the turbulence and the stuff we're flying through. So that's the start of the captain announcements or the flight attendant announcements. At the second the door closed, and we were like locked on the plane, like we're not going anywhere. There were at least 2 children. It could have been a third. There might have just been a third mixing in, just having absolute biblical meltdowns for the entirety of the trip. Like gate to gate, it's like 2 hours, 45 minutes. And I mean, losing their shit, like just going fucking bananas for 2 hours and 45 fucking minutes. Thank God I was watching a movie and like it was mostly drowned out. But if the movie ever got paused, like when they would come across and make announcements, you're just hearing just wild. Like if you were sitting, I mean, they were a good 5 to 7 rows behind me. I can't imagine being closer. I mean, those kids were having the worst days of their lives, bar none. And then so I'm taking notes. An hour into the trip, I wrote, we have gotten no less than 8 fasten seatbelt announcements in the first hour of this trip. And then I eventually wrote, we're up to like 12 now. I mean, they're just coming across. And I'm just watching my movie. My row's empty, so I'm living it. I'm feeling great. I wasn't able to get in like the Comfort Plus. The seats were like $100. I was like, no fucking chance. My row's empty. It's no big deal. I'm like, this is going to be a good flight. I'm going to have my headphones in. I'm not going to hear those kids freaking out. And, because you're watching a movie, every time they make an announcement, it stops the movie. So I'm like, Jesus. It's like, please keep your seatbelt fastened and in your seat until we turn off the fastened seatbelts. And you look up and there's some little fucking weirdo up and down the aisle. 8 to 12 times in the first hour and a half. It was absurd. Then when we got to Chicago, changed planes, little plane, Chicago up to Wisconsin. A CRJ 550, 50 people on this plane. And I'm like, this is a little plane. Why aren't they tagging my bag for the gate check or, checking it through to the final destination? And so I'm just getting on the plane. I'm like, oh, they're going to take it eventually. They've just forgot. We're going to get to the plane. They're going to be like, you got to get that off. I get on the plane. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Finally get on the plane. I'm looking at the overheads. I'm like, those are tiny. This is exactly what I thought. The flight attendant comes up and goes, she's just kind of talking to 4 or 5 of us. And she's like, just put your bags in the closet when you go by. And if you need any help, I'll be down to assist. And I'm like, in the closet? Is she calling the overheads closets? What's happening? Sure as shit. They've got 3 closet looking things with, a divider in the middle. And you just slide your thing in there. I'll have to see if I can pull it up. CRJ 550 baggage closets. I mean, it was just genius that you just have this. Here we go. This is it right here. Let me share the screen. Right there. You're just walking by. It's right down the middle of the plane. Bam. There's a seat here. There's more seats there. You just slide your thing in. You get to your thing. You pull it up. I mean, look at this guy. This guy's crawling in it. Incredible, really. Absolutely incredible. What else do I got here? Do I have anything else? This is a football one. Since 1986, 7 teams have won 15-plus regular season games. The 98 Vikings, 04 Steelers, 2007 Patriots, 2011 Packers, 15 Panthers, 24 Lions, 24 Chiefs. Not a one of them have won the Super Bowl. Not one. It was -5 here today. That was cool. And I'll just leave you with this. Played Brewopoly, Monopoly knockoff, with the roommate. The second she ran out of money, when she landed on one of my locations with some hotels or there were tap houses, but I upgraded them to breweries. She had to pay me $450, something like that. She didn't have it. She goes, okay, game's over. Didn't even fight. Didn't even try to mortgage out her property. She had plenty. She could have come up with the money. She just called it. She said, nope, I'm done. It's over. Game over. She said, peace. That's what I'm going to say here in a second. Let's go wrap this up. Closing time, everybody. Just want to thank everybody. Thank you for the watches. Thank you for the listens. I appreciate your support. So thank you. Thank you to producer Kevy for coming on today. And Tim. Thank you to Tim for coming on, chatting a little Marvel with me. Back next week. We got more golf, 4 Nations wrap up, college basketball, whatever else, comes up. Like I said, I'll always find something to ramble on about. Check out the Full Range Pod. You can find it at Full Range on Spotify, the Full Range Podcast. You can find it on the Ole Walls House YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think, as long as everything works out, I'm making an appearance on the Full Range Pod this week, so go check that out. We'll be out Thursday. I think that's about it. So, till next week, peace.